The Next Gen Home by Lennar has a separate private living space with a bathroom, kitchenette, and entrance all its own, but still connected to the rest of the house. It's a home within a home. New models now open in the Central Valley. To learn more, visit a Lennar Welcome Home Center near you or visit lennar.com.
And here we are, thanks to the dual miracles of technology and advertising. We're back.
You bet, you bet. Hey, we want to say a big thanks to those companies here in Kern County that stand with us on this show and help support us. And that's basically DB and Company. We're talking about David Bass, the printing and marketing that he does right next to Happy Jacks, literally right next door. And what David does is he actually sponsors the whole business segment so that businesses out there can come on absolutely free and tell the world about who you are and what you do. We want to call your attention to Legal Shield. I'm telling you, you need to call these people. You've got car insurance, you've got health insurance, you've got boat insurance, you've got all kinds of insurance. These people provide legal insurance so that if you've got whether it's a trivial matter or a traumatic matter, your identity has been stolen, these are the people that will stand with you and help you and bring a major law firm to your side. Let me just give that cell number. It's 707-537-5881. And Kern Construction and Electric Company, that's Robert Miller. We just told you Robert was in a terrible accident, but he survived. 1 second either way, he would not have survived. But this is the guy that can do almost any project you have around your property. 661-322-5554. All right, here. Say again, Chris. I missed it. Okay, we want to throw something up here. Go ahead, Chris. No, there it is. We believe we have watching from Washington, D.C., Iman Abdul Rahman Yaqi and his wife, I think it's Kaja. He's the leader of the Islamic Center of New York's Capital District. Tina met Mr. Yaqi and his wife back at the prayer breakfast, the National Prayer Breakfast, and they said they'd be watching, and we just wanted to say hello. Glad to have you watching the show. I think you're going to want it. And you may have all of you may have some real questions about Islam, and if you do, just call this number, and we'll deal with it. We'll be glad to hear any question you might have. 661-395-7386. All right, here we go. We're going to try to bridge the gap, a Christian-Muslim dialogue, and Bob and I think, would count ourselves Christians, and the fellow we have is the leader of the Islamic community here in Kern County, a leader of 5 mosques, the Kern County population of 5,000 Muslims, and Imad, just great to have you here.
I'm excited to be here, Don. I was really happy when we met up and talked about this. I thought this was a great opportunity for our community to at least reach out to mainly people in Bakersfield, but it's exciting to know that you have a bigger audience as well listening in.
You bet. Imad Mirza. Imad, what we met at a coffee shop to talk about how we wanted to handle this particular segment, a couple segments. And Imad, what our primary goal here today is to try to dispel some of the unnecessary fears and inaccurate stereotypes of Islam itself. And that's a tough job these days when you've got some calling themselves Muslims, blowing people up and blowing planes out of the sky, and the headlines are full of that. And naturally it fills people with questions and fears. So let's go straight at it.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most merciful, the most gracious. I agree with you. It's a difficult job. It's difficult from 2 sides. One, of course, the extremists taking so much out of context, in all honesty, deceiving many people. That is a battle for us internally within the Islamic world. The good news is that 99.99% of the Muslims are listening to us and not to them, and that's something that we all need to be very happy about. They are really a small number. They get a lot of press. They get a lot of attention. They do things to get a lot of press and a lot of attention. The other good news is that they're absolutely incorrect in everything that they're doing. Islam, without a doubt, completely clarifies that their actions are criminal, their actions are not warranted, Their actions are not supported by the Quran or the ways of the Prophet Muhammad, who was sent as a mercy to mankind. This we are confident in. There is no confusion in that matter for us. On the other hand, we have groups also, here in the United States and other places that are not the extremists, but there are groups that are trying to lump in the 99.99% of Muslims with the extremists. And an agenda I sometimes escapes me. I'm not exactly sure why they want our country or any other country in the West to fight a war against almost 2 billion Muslims, who the vast, vast, vast majority of the Muslims, their scholars, their leaders, their imams, their alims, which would be their notable scholars that they listen to, the vast consensus of scholars are all in opposition. In all opposition to the extremists and the terrorists and these individuals, and yet you still want to lump them in. It's an irony for me. I don't understand it, and we see that with the news outfits. I hate to mention by name, but there is a few that Fox News and others that tend to bring on a litany of speakers that are just trying to incite people against Muslims and trying to lump the Muslims, the Quran, and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And I will go into a little bit of detail to explain to you guys how notorious that action is and how dangerous it can be and how counterproductive to what we're all trying to do here it is. But yeah, for somebody like me, we're an umbrella organization that tries to guide many mosques, several mosques at least, a few in town and a few around the county. And we focus on one locality. We focus on Bakersfield and Kern County, like you said, upwards of 5,000 Muslims and 500,000 non-Muslims. It can be difficult. It can be a difficult job. Thank God, whenever we do get these opportunities to sit with folks like yourself, Mike, Don, and I are friends, and we've gotten to talk. And I have probably no better defender in this community than Don. I found that out. But when we do get a chance to sit with people and talk with them and elaborate on the issues from the Army to the Department of Justice to the media to Christians and Jews and other organizations, there's no difficulty in breaking down these problems.
Ahmad, you work very closely with law enforcement and the Homeland Security Department. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, with the DOJ, it would be the U.S. Attorney's Office out of Sacramento and Fresno, and they're opening a local office here in Bakersfield, as well as the FBI locally and in Sacramento and Fresno. The Homeland Security has come to some of our lectures and so on and so forth. It's a very open, transparent relationship. It's one that I spearheaded back about 7 years ago, and the Shura Council was completely behind it, and the imams and the mosques. It has become one of the most unique relationships, I think, anywhere. Most of the organizations that come in and hear about it and see it, and the feds themselves, the DOJ themselves, says it's just one of the best relationships that they have anywhere with a local community. We've worked well together. We've thwarted some things together, but very minor issues that we're very thankful that we don't really have many problems in our community. But we work very close. We work very closely. It's open. Our community knows what we do. We discuss it with them openly. We've brought in the U.S. Attorney Ben Wagner on several occasions. He's coming in again very soon, as well as special agents out, with the FBI and whatnot. The chief out of Fresno. We're always talking about matters and so on and so forth. But it's a relationship built on mutual respect and understanding. Law enforcement is there to serve and protect us, and we're there to make their jobs easier. Okay, they're not the bad guys, nor are we. And so when we see it like that, and when we set up parameters that everybody follows, we're good to go.
I got to say that I remember one lecture I attended about anti-Islam, and they actually made a deal that the mosque is across the street from the armory.
You remember that? Yeah, you told me that.
As if some of you guys are going to break through the fence and get in a tank.
I think the idea was that was our whole idea. So
around.
let's build it here because that army's over there. We can get a hold of that and take on the United States of America. It was in that same presentation you told me that they mentioned me by name and said I was affiliated with organizations that I wasn't affiliated with and so on and so forth. That group is called Act for America. And they were obviously telling lies, and this isn't the first time they tell lies. And I laughed, and I said, well, maybe they need to go ahead and contact Sacramento or Fresno and ask them what they think about me and if I am affiliated with these organizations. But it is sad that these are the kind of things, it's a fear mongering kind of thing, or fear pandering, or they're just trying to create this distrust between the non-Muslim community, the vast majority, which is, if you even take our numbers in Kern County, we're 1%. It's a 99-to-1 ratio. So if you can get the 99% to dislike us and hate us and not trust us, it can be a very difficult life for us as a 1%. And that's the same across the country. Maybe the number is 1%, 1.5%, maybe 2% at best. If you can get that 99, 98% to think they can't trust a Muslim, they can't believe a Muslim, they need to fear a Muslim, then it's really the Muslim's life that becomes very difficult. It's not so much the 98% or 99%. And that's why I think, on the other hand, it's one thing to say that terrorists are bad guys. They are bad guys. And those that lead these organizations, they lie to these young people. They unfortunately are able to lure them in. Some of them have difficult lives and difficult upbringings. They live in difficult nations. They live in nations that they're oppressed in and out. They're oppressed by their own leadership, and they may be oppressed because of the wars and whatnot. And so they're able to get to these kids, but they're lying. Now, on the other hand, we have people here that know better. And I'll say that again, that know better, that should not be saying these types of things. It's very easy for someone like me to come in and dispel every issue they bring up. It isn't a difficult process. It's just a matter of getting the time and the audience to do that. And I mean, you can ask about anything you hear. I don't care what it is. I don't care how controversial it is. I don't care how scary it might sound to you. Shoot.
We're going to take a break here, and one of the things that is said about Islam is, well, you're taught to lie. You can't trust them because the Quran says you're supposed to lie to the infidel.
So I'm so happy you brought that up.
Let's talk about that when we come
Sounds
back.
good.
We're going to be right back with Ahmad Mirza.
Excellent.